name is June, or Juniper, and I recently got hired at Black Diamond Authority, and I just thought I'd take some time to introduce myself, explain kind of how I got here and what I can make. So I came from Michigan and went to school in Ohio, Bowling Green State University. I focused in a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a heavy focus in three-dimensional studies of jewelry and metalsmithing. And what that basically means is I mostly took jewelry and metalsmithing classes. And I learned how to fabricate jewelry, I learned how to enamel, how to cast, how to solder, just basic how to make jewelry. And I also took glass blowing classes, ceramics, and then I also did some drawing. One of the main things that I would focus in for a lot of my art in college was this process called enameling, which is where you fuse glass powder onto the metal by putting a layer of liquid and then putting a layer of a powder of glass fragments, and then you put it in a kiln to melt it and fuse it onto the metal. And it is a fun process, and it's also very experimental. So I got really experimental with it. I actually focused a lot of my pieces on either memorial pieces of someone who had passed away in my family, and so I would focus on the feelings and the memories of that person and try to freeze it in glass, basically, onto the metal. And I also made a lot of ocean-themed things because I have always been obsessed with the ocean. I have always been drawn to the ocean, and it's just one of these things where I wanted to talk about how so much of it's undiscovered and so much of it's just not known, and it kind of also attached to some childhood memories of mine, so I would play with that and tell stories through my pieces, basically. And I made some really fun, really big pieces. In a moment here, I'll show you them and kind of explain them, maybe a little, and yeah. And then another thing that I did was laser cutting, and I made a really big piece with that. I did a lot of mixed medias, and I just learned a lot in college, and then I worked in Ohio for a little bit, but I've always had a passion for art, and I came down to Texas, and I saw all of these art opportunities, so I got my stuff together and moved down here, and now I'm on this new journey of getting my art discovered down here now, and I feel like there's way more opportunities, and Black Diamond Authority actually contacted me and was like, hey, I can help you with those opportunities. So I'm super excited to hopefully get my art out in the world again. And so some of the things that I can actually do are, I mostly focus in making jewelry, so I can do wire wrapping, I can do beadworking, I can do metalsmithing, of fabrication, stone setting. I actually made this aventurine ring. It's a type of stone, and if it's something that you're looking for, please send me photos so I can make sure that I can make it if I have the supplies and such. I also know how to do stained glass working, and I know how to sew and embroider and crochet. So I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades. I'm a mixed media artist. I am constantly always making something. I have made cosplays for my friends. I have fitted some of my friends' clothes. I have also crocheted plushies and just done various different things that I'm passionate about. I'm really hoping that there is a demand out there for, all of these different types of art. But yes, I will mostly be focusing in jewelry. So, why I came to Black Diamond Authority, I would have to say it would be just the fact that it is mostly about exposing minorities and people who have disabilities and just anyone who doesn't fit under the umbrella term of I guess, normal. I don't know who's really normal these days. But, you know, after looking into the company and seeing some of the people who already work for the company, I was like, okay, you know, I'm interested in working for a company that is a community. I love the idea that maybe we could bounce ideas off of each other and we could create things together and we can help other people find art jobs based on the skills that we don't have, but we know that this person needs, kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to create things with other artists as well, and maybe teach some people how to make art, which soon there should be a tutorial by me where I'll be teaching you how to make something. So yeah, it's exciting. And I also have some social medias that should be accessible through Black Diamond Authority. Alright, so this is the first piece that I wanted to show you guys, and this is the laser cut piece that I was talking about, and it is neurons in your brain, and that was to talk about some mental disorders that I was doing some projects on, and then some other health issues. I really like talking about things that make kind of people uncomfortable in art school. It was a lot of fun. It also gave us a great discussion during art critiques. So this is a memorial piece that I made, and it is in memory of someone, and it references their favorite band, and it says "Remember Who You Really Are," which is a song from that band Evanescence that they adored. So this was my goggles that I made in art school, and I did a technique called felting, where you take a bunch of loose fabric fibers and you felt them together with needles, and you stab them repeatedly until it becomes a fabric again. And then I fabricated the rest of the goggles. This was actually my first piece that I made, so we had to talk about a favorite childhood story, and my favorite childhood story growing up was The Little Mermaid, so I made Ariel, and I made Ursula, and then I colored it with these vibrant colors to reference that, like, happy cartoon coloration. This was a spine piece that I made, and the metal would lay on the back of your neck, and then these shells would be down your spine, and it was to talk about weight and the feeling of pressure in a sense. This is a Petoskey Stone, so if you're familiar with anything native of Michigan, this is a stone that you can only find in Michigan by the lakes, and whenever you get it wet, it creates this beautiful texture. And someone had asked me to set it, and they actually drew the top part for me and wanted me to cut it exactly like that, the imperfectness. These are a pair of Garnet Stones that I set. This was the only photo that I sadly got of them, because I gave them to the person literally the next day, so that way they could give it to their sister for her birthday. This is a necklace that I enameled with a photo transfer on it for Lindsay Sterling. She's a music artist that I've always looked up to. So when I knew I was going to meet her, I wanted to make something that was, again, a memorial piece that someone could cherish and hopefully appreciate. So this is the big experimental enameling piece that I was talking about earlier. So we have a hair comb, a brooch, and a necklace. The necklace is a giant octopus, which I electroformed. And if you know anything about electroforming, you have to paint a liquid metal on something, and then you put it in there and it reacts and it builds up actual metal. So I sculpted him out of wax and then painted him, made him to be metal, melted the wax out, and enameled him, set the stone in him. He was a lot of fun. He was very experimental. And then I did the brooch, which is a photo transfer of a lighthouse, and the hair comb, which just had like sea motifs on it. And I wanted to kind of make it look like it was found at the bottom of the ocean in a sense. So I took a 6-week sped up class in the summer right before I graduated, and I took a rings class where I learned how to bezel set stones, channel set stones, wax cast, cuttlefish casts and just do a bunch of different forms of making rings. So here's this, like, all the rings that I made, and this was a casting one right here with the paw print, and so were the all 4 of these were casted. And then here's a sample of the stones that I set. Here's a close-up of the stone that I had actually set. And here's a sample of the beading that I have done. So here's some of the beading that I've done. I like to mix a lot of different types of beads, and I like to play with texture and stuff. And I also really enjoy doing what I call thrift flipping, where I go and find jewelry that has been broken or isn't working for someone anymore, and I take it apart and I remake it into something new.